Here we go then. Well, good morning and welcome to Specimen Series, and you find me this morning on the River Thames, which is a first for me. I've never fished the Thames before, and the reason I'm here, I'm trying to find one or two of the big chub that live in this river. And I must say, first impressions, it's very different to the chub fishing that I'm used to back at home. I've actually had some boat traffic going past this morning already, and it's a much bigger river, but I'm really excited for the day ahead. I'm going to keep on my toes, work my way along this stretch, and hopefully we'll find one or two of these big Thames chub. Nothing happened in that first swim, and being impatient when targeting chub is probably a good thing. I find if I'm sitting in the right swim, a bite will come fairly quickly. With that thought, I thought it was time to jump in the next swim and try and find my first Thames chub. I've fished for chub for well over 20 years now, and I'm super confident in my approach, and I didn't feel the need to change anything when fishing the River Thames. It was just a case of leapfrogging along the river until I found one of those features that held a fish, and I wasn't long in getting my first bite. Well, this is the third swim of the morning, and finally the tip has pulled round. I see a nice big Thames chub on the end, so let's try and get this in the net. There we go, that's a proper one, that one. Well, £6 3 ounces and my first ever River Thames chub. You'll have to excuse the helicopter noise, he's been doing laps of the river this morning, but this makes up for a little bit of a slow start. The importance of keeping on the move. I moved into swim number 3, and within 5 minutes the tip pulled round with this absolute beauty. I was absolutely over the moon to catch a £6 chub on my very first bite on the river, and thinking that, I thought it was well worth another cast in the same swim. Quite often where there's one chub, there might be another one, but sadly I didn't get any more bites this time, and with so many great areas to explore on the river, I was keen to leapfrog along some more and try and find my next chub. I've dropped down into the next swim on this nice glide on the inside bank, and whilst I'm waiting to see if I get any more bites, I'm going to talk a little bit about location when targeting these big chub. And as I mentioned, this is the first time I've ever seen the Thames, let alone fished it, but the simple rules apply. Whatever river I'm fishing, there are certain features that the chub really like. The obvious one is probably overhanging trees and snags. They love to get under cover, so fishing your bit of cheese paste or your bread flake as tight to that cover as you dare can quite often get you a bite. And as well as that, probably my favourite feature is what the flow is doing. It's exactly what we've got in this swim. There's a nice crease on the inside bank. If the river was a little bit lower, this would be a lovely swim to trot or float through, but we've had a lot of rain recently. There's quite a bit of colour in the river and it is pushing through quite hard, so that's why I'm fishing on the quiver tip. You get rafts of stuff build up against the trees as well if you can get a bait under those rafts, but for me the main two features are the snags and the creases. Well, this is one of those typical chubby snag swims that I mentioned earlier, and there's a bit of an art when you cast into these snags. Rather than cast straight at the overhanging tree, if you cast your little link ledger past the tree and then use the flow of the river to help you guide it into the snag. So what I mean by that, you can cast out, gently draw it back, and as it guides round in the flow, reaches the outside of those branches, let it drop down and it will settle under the snag perfectly. It's been quite hard today. I'm over the moon with that 6-pounder this morning. I've definitely missed another bite further upriver, so I might go back to that swim when I missed it. But it is a case of just keep leapfrogging along, trying all these different swims, and hopefully I can get one more bite before I head home. But other than that, I am back on the river tomorrow. I've got 2 days here, so hopefully there'll be a few more bites before I have to head home. Well, no joy here. Time to get on the move again, I think. I'm going to drop down to a slightly smaller weight. I put a heavier one on this morning because there's a bit of extra water on the river, but I do like to use as little weight as I can get away with. It's a little bit easier to guide it into them snags, and I think the lighter weight settles on the crease exactly where you want it to fish anyhow. So I think this one's about 10 gram, a little Guru flat pair, but that'll sit perfectly out there. Well, fingers crossed that this swim is as chubby as it looks. I'm going to get it on the edge of that bush and see if we can catch another one. The problem I was facing is, having never fished the river before, all the swims looked like they could hold a chub. So it was a case of covering as much area as I could. But in the back of my mind, I wanted to try that swim again where I'd caught the 6-pounder. I find quite often if you rest a swim after you've caught a fish, you can drop back in there later in the day and get another bite. Well, proper last chance saloon. I've dropped him back in the swim where I had that 6-pound 3 this morning. I definitely missed a bite next door a minute ago. This is probably going to have to be the last swim, but sometimes this can be a really good time of the day. But it's been fairly challenging. This river has been rising all day and the pace is definitely picking up, but there's always a chance. Got one. Last chance saloon. I've got to try and keep it out of that tree, but wouldn't it be nice to land this one? It's been a tough day for me today. I feel I should have had a couple more. I missed a couple of chances, but I didn't miss this one. There we go. Yay! Well, the River Thames definitely had me against the ropes today. It's been hard work today and I've missed a few chances. Got slightly frustrated with myself at times, but it's brilliant to end on a second fish. So really pleased to get this one. We are losing the light now, so I'm going to slip this fella back and then we're back out tomorrow to see if we can find some more. We had a lot more rain overnight, causing the river to rise even more, so the plan for day 2 was to try and find some slack water and some creases where these big chub might be holding. So the spot I chose, a couple of miles further downriver, had a lovely crease just below a very busy road bridge. The crease was caused by a nice line of trees on my own bank and looked a good a place as any to start to try and find a few more of those big chub. So this morning I'm going to carry on the same as yesterday. I'm going to stick with the cheese paste. When the river's up and coloured, in my opinion, there isn't a better bait. So I'm quite keen to cast out. This does look a likely looking area, so fingers crossed I can get another chub as big as that one yesterday. With even more rain overnight and the river rising even more, I felt the second day might be slightly more challenging. But the crease that I'd found behind those bushes looked a great place to start. So it was a case of leapfrogging along that crease, exploring the different depths with the link ledger and the cheese paste to try and find those fish. I've found in the past when there's lots of extra water on the river, sometimes chub fishing can be very challenging, and a combination of that and fishing a venue that I've never even fished before, I'd be lying if I said my confidence wasn't waning slightly. I just needed one bite on that second day to lift my confidence back up and reassure me that the chub are willing to feed in those high water conditions. And after leapfrogging all the way along that nice looking crease, I ended up back at the top of the crease right near the road bridge for one last try in that area, praying that that rod tip would pull round. Yeah. It's like fishing off Lowestoft Pier. There is a chub down there somewhere. There he is. Whee! Well, what a massive confidence booster this is. With the river being so high, I'd fished 2 or 3 swims that looked as if I should have got a bite, and I was starting to wonder whether they're willing to feed in this flood water, but the answer is yes, they are. So now I know that the chub will definitely find the bait. I've just got to find the chub. So I'm going to slip this fella back. I'm going to have one more cast in this swim because there could be some more here. Otherwise, the plan is to head to where I fished yesterday, where I caught that nice big 6-pounder, because I missed a couple of bites yesterday, and I think there's a chance of another whacker on that spot. Thank you, mate. Off you go. As we were about to leave that stretch, I received a phone call from good friend Martin from Redden District Angling Association, and he seemed to think that the stretch we fished the previous day would be carrying far too much water, and told us of another spot further downriver that would contain some slack water that was a much better option. Take long. It was a bit heavier, Chris. Yeah, just want to try and keep it out of those trees. That's better. Well, that took all of about 30 seconds, that did, in this tight little hole. Lovely chubbly. Let's get it now. Here's a nice one. Big old mouth, look at the mouth on him. Lovely. In you get. Yeah. Brilliant. Well, how about that for another big River Thames chub? £5.12 that one. And a big thank you to Martin for a bit of local info. He recommended we tried this little swim along here. There's some nice slack water under these trees, and well, that took all of about 30 seconds to get that bite. So I'm going to slip this fella back. I'm definitely having another cast in that swim. There's a couple of other spots further upriver, but maybe there's hope for another bite here before we get on the move again. Thank you, mate. I was mega impressed with the chub on the River Thames. They are in such good condition and such thick set fish. You can see why this river produces such big chub. And I had one more move in mind before it was time to head home. And being greedy, I wanted to try and catch one more chub before we made that long journey back to Norfolk. That's a good fish. That's a good fish. I have got 8-pound line straight through. I think I need it. Here he comes. Whew. That was dodgy. God, he's fighting this one. He's a nice one. Not sure if I've got my long landing net handle. Yeah, he's in. Well, I'm glad I moved up into this next swim. I did make a bit of a mess up when I first moved into here. I missed a bite and then I lost the fish. I only had it on for a few seconds, but that was 1-0 to the chub on that occasion. But I persevered, the tip pulled round again, and what a beautiful chub this is. The chub in this river are in such good condition and they're really thick set fish. So I can't wait to come back to the Thames. A massive thank you to Redden District Angling Association for inviting us over and putting me onto these lovely fish. And lastly, before I go, Merry Christmas to all of you from myself and Chris. I hope you get out over the Christmas period and maybe I've inspired you to do a little bit of chub fishing this winter.